Hey, so welcome back to We the People with your host, John Allen. We're on every Thursday at 6 p.m. weekly on WLTH AM 1370. And we're also streaming online on the We the People Facebook page, We the People Facebook page. You'll recognize the page that has an American flag on it, says We the People. And I want to read the disclaimer again. The views expressed by the host and callers of this show are not necessarily the view of WLTH management, owners, advertisers, and sponsors. Okay, welcome back to the show. And we're going to talk a little bit more before we have our guest come on, Ms. Jocelyn Kelly. She's going to call in and phone in, and we're going to speak with her. So, back to what we were talking about. I was offering the community a little bit information about civics, and I think the best way I can personally do that, aside from having attorneys come on the show, like we had Justin Camper, which we'll have him back soon, and we plan to have some more attorneys come on. But aside from doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to read or talk about a specific incident, and then we'll share with you how it works. So we may have Miss Kelly on the line, do we?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to start up with Miss Kelly, and we have Jocelyn Kelly on the line. Jocelyn, you hear us?
Yes, good evening.
Hey, thank you for joining us, Miss Kelly.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Miss Kelly is a wealth of not only information, but also insight. People may say it's opinion, but no, I say it's insight, because a lot of times she have a opinion about something she's actually participating in, and that makes all the difference. That's how come I find it hard sometimes when I try to cut hairs and see something the way she don't see it. I said, oh, maybe I got to give it a certain way of a weight of distinction, because she may be doing the thing that she's mentioning to me or trying to explain. So I thought she would be the perfect guest to come on and talk about her experience or the experience or what's expected, because you can't be a goody two shoes when trying to grow your business, and you have to do something challenging or semi-challenging, such as doing a new build out to put your place in. So with Miss Kelly, I'm going to let you just introduce yourself, which everybody knows you, mention your new endeavor, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing there, and then I'm going to shoot some questions at you and you share with the audience.
That's fair. Well, good evening, everyone. I am privileged and blessed to have this opportunity to share my story. As John said, my name is Jocelyn Kelly, and I am the owner, proprietor, and visionary of Jay's Breakfast Club. Jay's Breakfast Club, I am so excited. On October the 1st, we will be celebrating our 7th year of service to this community. During the time that we have been privileged to be within this community, we started off in Midtown on 12th and Grant, where the original concept was purely carry out. The opportunity was, I know when I was working in the community and going back to work and trying to do everything that at that time, a single mom, a professional, somebody who was raised by folks from Alabama who knew all about good eating. And good eating sometimes takes time, but it also takes time when you go to the grocery store. You got to go to the grocery store. You got to get it home. Then you got to cook, and then you got to clean. And when you're on the go, all those different steps may not be readily available to us to get things the way we want them or we like them. So through a couple of different life experiences that I have gone through, it put me in a spot where I got to choose how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. And as I look back over my career, which spans over 20 years in finance, working for financial institutions, consulting with small businesses, working with small businesses in management, and yes, restaurants. First job being at McDonald's, I found where I had the most fulfillment was in hospitality, serving people and giving people something that we all need as food, but also the experience, and that led me to Jay's Breakfast Club. And so when we opened on 12th and Grant, the whole objective was carry out. And we opened the doors and we had an overwhelming response from the community. But we had one huge problem, and that problem was nobody wanted to leave. So we were thrust into a position where we actually had to conform to the needs and the wants of the community. And we began to transition into a full-service restaurant. In 2017, we moved to 3669 Broadway, where we're currently located. And we are a full-service restaurant. And we began to continue to yield to the desires of the community. And I took it a step further, and our mission is inspiring positivity through love by doing what we love, where we love, with the people we love. And that's more than just providing a great meal. The impetus of everything that I do, the basis is love. And with that being said, we have a tremendous amount of outreach that we do. Still yielding to the desires and the demands from our clientele and our patrons in the community, pushed us into another venue or opportunity. And that was to find space where we would not be confined necessarily by the whim of our land
owner.
The land, not us being the landowners,
I know,
but others
the
renting
land.
from them.
Exactly.
Right.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if you had to say one of your top pros, your top 2 or 3 pros from having your own facility built out, what would be the number one thing on your list?
Control.
Control. Okay, another question. What's the square footage of your facility, your new facility?
It's going to be a little bit shy of 3,000 square feet.
Okay, that's great. So, with the facility being a little bigger, of course it's going to help with the hospitality and having events and things like that, and you being able to do your outreach work. Anything is going to be, well, it's kind of like a assumed question, but do you think it's going to be anything introduced or anything changed or modified as far as regarding with your menu in light of the fact that we have a shortage of restaurants and dine-ins here?
That's a great question, and I'm actually working with consultants now to help me to devise. We have a formula that works.
Okay.
And so the worst thing we could do is think we're better or bigger, and now we want to change everything.
Okay.
If it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, type of thing. So we are consulting and looking at different avenues, but the recipe works, and so it's no sense in changing something that has worked, phenomenally for the last 7 years.
Okay, so would you say that the growth accelerated due to you being able to have dine-in after you moved from Grant Street to Broadway?
I would say yes. You know all about traffic counts.
Mm-hmm.
So we were originally on 12th and Grant. That traffic count is not as great as a Broadway location. Okay. So being on 37th and Broadway, a major between Ridge Road and 8094 and then 65 to the east of us, put us in a very favorable location. And the new location going in at 26th and Broadway is just making it that much more favorable because we're immediately off of 8094. So whereas on 37th and Broadway, we have an average flow count, and what that means is people passing our location is about 33,000 a day. Mm-hmm. Being where we're going, we'll have the potential of 330,000 people that potentially we have access to.
I got you. So it looked like we might have one of those little, what they call, I got a solicitation in my mail for it too. The highway signs where you advertise the restaurant on the highway and it's on the sign with the other signs, gas station, Artie's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that'd be good because you're right off the 8094. So right. With the build out, right? Yeah. What would you say to an entrepreneur? And pretend you're talking to another person that's attempting to do what you're doing as far as like putting their facility in new construction. What do you think was the most challenging or stressful thing? And what do you think they can do, the second part of the question, to get themselves prepared? What would be the best thing they could do to get themselves prepared if they wanted to get in their own new building?
Okay, so let's just level set.
Mm-hmm.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just be truthful, there are challenges in every stage of this process.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say one stage is harder than the other because everything comes with a different amount of, I call it a faith walk.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I've learned that, you just got to go for it. The worst thing that could happen is it doesn't work out, get the lesson, and try it again. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I would advise anybody is, why are you doing it? If you're chasing money, anything and all things that you chase, it will run from you. So you had to have a bigger determining factor of why you're doing it other than trying to make money. Oprah said it best, do what you love and the money will come. So with me, the process has not been easy. It's been arduous. I've learned a lot. I've never built anything in my life. So this is the first entity that I've actually built. Getting a place that's already establishing it and rehabbing it is totally, totally, totally different than acquiring land, working with individuals to recognize and realize your dream, getting what's in your head out on paper, that it makes sense from the architectural standpoint and all the civil engineering and everything that goes into there. And then you also have codes. You have codes local, you got county codes, you got state codes, so you got to fit your dream into everybody else's box.
So I'm glad
in order to make it happen.
I'm glad you got a taste of that, because you said something interesting in the intro. You said you worked at McDonald's before, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna run something by you, and you give me your unfiltered opinion about this. Mm-hmm. So I'm reading a post, and I was talking to a person earlier that day, and they were saying that the owner of a Five Guys, and I guess they assumed it was a franchise, and it might be. I think Five Guys is, but the owner of Five Guys, he should make the same money as the people working in the restaurant should make, or he should split the money with them, right? Because they don't get paid enough, or because of this restaurant job, whatever their reason was or logic was. And when the post was done later, coincidentally, by an unrelated person that was talking to me, they were kind of like slamming Five Guys owner for having money or wealth. And my first thought was, well, one, the person did something that had net worth to qualify for a franchise. So they worked. Second thing is, they have to spend some upfront money like you doing, or take some upfront obligation to spend some money or pay some money to take a risk on something that may or may not work. So how would someone in establishment earn the same thing as the owner? Which I know it sounds ridiculous, but we have a movement going now, and some people are saying it's socialism, some people are saying it's not, and for some reason they're picking the food entities to attack the most. And you've had to manage staff, which I think you did a great job, because I've seen some people hang around a lot longer than I've seen them hang around in my establishments. But what do you say about people that think that they have a degree of entitlement from just being present at a job, and then to express their degree of entitlement, they compare it to somebody like you who build an establishment that generate revenue and hire people? What say you about that?
So that's interesting you say that. My background, my undergrad degree is in economics. I have an MBA in finance, and I'm different from a lot of business owners because of the knowledge base that I've acquired, but also you got to keep in mind I've worked in finance as well, which is, I'm not talking finance in terms of actual financing things, but I want you to consider the corporate structure. So, greater risk, greater reward. As a business owner, I may be open from 7 a.m. to 3 o'clock every day, Sundays 8 to 5. However, just because the open sign is not on does not mean that I'm not working. I'm taking the risk. I'm the one putting my life savings on the line. I'm the one who's putting everything on the line. I'm the one negotiating and taking the liabilities, working with vendors. I'm the one, if things go south, they're going to come after me. They're not going to come after an employee. So my thing is this. I totally agree with living wages, and I am working overtime to do better by my employees, to get them more money. They know my theory is, we make more money, you make more money. So anytime somebody comes to me and asks me about a raise, I immediately, well, what are you going to do to help us to get more money so you get more money? And folks can respect that. That's skin in the game. So they understand that the growth of our business directly impacts them. So for me to understand where they're standing, and nothing in my organization that I ask anyone to do, I am not willing to do myself.
So,
if that bathroom has to be cleaned, Jocelyn is in there cleaning that bathroom.
That's good leadership.
If the floors have to be mopped, I will mop the floor. Now, at the same time, if you're there and I'm paying you, and it's your job to do X, Y, or Z, and you choose not to do it, and I have to do it, then I, as a leader, I have the decision and the choice and the privilege to make that I can excuse you, because there's no sense in me paying you for a job that I'm going to do myself. And that's the same in corporate. I remember being in corporate, and one of my last jobs, the gentleman said to me, if I got to do the job, then why am I paying you? And I've taken that everywhere with me. I've been on jobs where somebody would ask me, or they would hint that I do the other person's job. In that instance, you have to be careful, because you don't want to be insubordinate. But at the same time, are you going to give me that person's check for doing their job as well as mine? In most instances, you're not.
So your philosophy is that
risk versus reward. I'm making all the risks, so therefore I determine how the rewards are doled out based on the contribution.
So it'd be safe to say that you're in the camp that you get not only what you earn, but I'm going to deal with you fairly, but technically you get what you earn. Now, this is a big conversation among business owners recently, that for whatever reason, we could say it's our educational system, we could say it's our generations, we could say whatever reason, that we have a lot of people in the workforce that decline being in the workforce. So much so, I was in a mall yesterday out in O'Hare Airport, and 2 places I attempted to go into, they closed early because they didn't have enough staff, right? And then we have the issue of inflation, which I'm going to ask you about too, and how it's affected your business with food, the inflation with the prices going up in food. And ultimately, of course, we had the NIPSCO hike that come in last year. And of course, you burned the NIPSCO, so I'm going to ask your opinion about that as well. But what do you think now about our current workforce, if you had an opinion about our workforce? And what do you also think we could do to build our workforce up to get a little better? You've been working long enough where I'm pretty sure you noticed the distinction that our workforce is not in the best it can be right now, best shape it can be in.
So I want to start off by saying I am truly blessed. Our core staff has been the same core staff for better than 5 years. The majority of the people who you see at Jay's Breakfast Club are longevity employees. I attribute that to, I work hard to identify, let's start with me. I worked hard to identify the things that I'm good at. And in that, I realized that jack of all trades, master of none gets you nowhere other than burnt out and tired. And so therefore, I know what my strengths are. And because I know what my strengths are, I also know what my value is. And it makes me easier to identify the strengths and values in others, and giving people the opportunity to use their strengths and to do what they're good at and help them to become even better.
Okay.
So with me, my staff, I believe, and this is a question for them, not me, but by empowering them and giving them that latitude that they are part of the operation, they are part of the vision. So it's not there's no I in team. I can't do this without my team. And my team even extends past the employees you see on a day-to-day basis. You know, the customers are part of the team. I don't work, you know how they say entrepreneurs work for themselves? I don't work for myself. There's nothing that I do every day that I work for myself. I am not my own boss.
Do you think there's a shortage of that in our society today?
Yes.
And maybe
because
that's a contributing factor.
People get full of, my mother and I just talked about this. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Ego will knock you out the game. Confidence is one thing. Confidence is understanding who you are, whose you are, what your strengths are, what your talents are. And the ego is what you called a few minutes ago, entitlement, or believing that there is a big me and little you. I don't believe in that. I think we're all gifted. I think we all have talent. Can everybody be an entrepreneur, or does everybody need to be an entrepreneur or the boss? No. We have to have people at every level.
Say that again, please. Say that again. Can everybody be an entrepreneur? No. I'm guilty of making the mistake of talking to the general public, and the way I had polished the conversation, or presented it rather, I put a lot of people under the impression that some of the things that I was trying to promote was for them, and it's not for everybody. So
Okay.
just because something is not for everybody don't mean that they're being negatively excluded from it. It's just not for everybody. And it may be something that's for you that's just as good as what the entrepreneur doing or better.
Absolutely.
So it's different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's different. So
It's like the Indians and the Chiefs. Everybody can't be the chief. We got to have levels. You know, everybody's going to be doing different things.
that's good.
You
So
know what
talk
I'm
to us a
saying?
little bit about the inflation and how that's affected your business, whether it's with utilities, food, how you're doing. Have you modified any of your business decisions or the methodology of how you're doing things to kind of ward off or offset the inflation we're experiencing lately in this country?
Great question. So the key is being flexible. I remember I was invited to speak to a panel, on a panel with the SBA,
Mm-hmm.
and the moderator asked the question. They said, how, based on everything that you've experienced through the pandemic and the constant increase of inflation, and they're saying it's going to get worse, how are you plan, or do you think that you'll survive? And I chuckled. And I said, no disrespect to anyone in the room. I said, but I'm a black woman. Not only that, but I was a single black mom. And we know how to pivot. And so therefore, we know how to, as they say, we know how to make it do what we need to make it do. And not being funny, but we have, for us, is staying on top of things. I work hard to stay on top of things. So I'm constantly watching numbers. My vendors that I use, I spend lots of money with them. And so if I see prices creeping up, I challenge them. Okay, I know you got a margin on here. I'm not gonna pass this directly on to the customer. Tell me, what can you do for me? Because I'm spending X amount of dollars with you on a weekly basis, which amounts to this. Now, for me to continue to work with you, how you gonna work with me? So being knowledgeable about the numbers and being knowledgeable about your margin, that's one way. I constantly watch my costs. I constantly watch our portions, making sure that I'm not paying people to eat. Because, at the end of the day, we are a business, and businesses are in business to make a
Money.
profit. So therefore, I have a practice of every quarter doing a review of our pricing. I also do a review of our costs, an in-depth cost analysis to make sure that we keep the margins within the range that we want or need it to be with all of our other costs. And then the other part of it is that I have different methods and different things that I put into place so that it protects us. So for instance, you'll come into Jay's, and now it's a competition. When you come into Jay's, you'll notice that we advertise other businesses on our menu. Well, why do you do that, Jocelyn? Why do you take the time? Well, one, it's a way for me to give back to the community. But two, it's also a way to help defray our costs. It's another service that I'm providing. And it's another service that is helping us to keep our pricing in line with what I deem as reasonable for what we're offering. So thinking outside the box, offering other services that would help us to keep our ratios in order is huge. You know what I'm saying? If you continue to do and you don't adapt, those are the people who end up out of business because they're not adapting to the changes that are taking place. You got to constantly be on your toes. You got to constantly be looking at different ways how you can augment your business and expand. And that's something that I'm grateful that I have a strong suit in doing.
Okay, it's our break time, Jocelyn, and we thank you for having called in to We the People, and we look forward to talking to you after you're open. And could you give us the address to the new building right quick?
I'm going to give you the address to both buildings.
Okay.
We are located currently at 3669 Broadway in the city of Gary, the Glen Park area. Open every day, 7 to 3, Sundays 8 to 5. Our new location is 2601 Broadway. We have walls. Tomorrow we'll be 2 steps closer to having a roof, and anticipation year end, beginning of the year, that we'll be able to welcome the public into not my new home, but the community's new home.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you. That's Jocelyn Kelly from Jay's Breakfast Club, and thank you for calling in, being our guest on We the People.
And with three little words, we the people. We the